incredible Bekias. He's talking about what to do with the tea, what to do with the tea. So finally he tells you, all right, he has all of his chumras and whatever, the ganze Mishabur over here. So Mishabur over here, he says, now what you should do is like we said, and pour on the leaves on Erev Shabbos. We're going to come back to it. I want it for one item right now. When we talk about tea, we're going to talk about this barichas. After the Olam learns it Balpeh, the Shabura says, he says, after you pour it on, Kadesh is a nikra tei, mevushal b'mixes, Iyar is mevashal. Then he tells you, like we said yesterday, Yahapich beis ha'Iyar, make sure you swivel it around so that it gets on every part. Everywhere. Okay, he has another malach. We'll see. Then he says, the achakach. Yarik is a essence l'kiliyacher. Take this essence and pour it in to a different. Take the juice and pour it into a different vessel, a different. Kedei that the alei should be yevation, that the alei should be dry. Now, first of all, over here in Shartzi, and this is the one we referred to yesterday. It says Ratzaloimer beli may essence. No, who's he quoting over here? So Mishaburi tells you on the bottom who all his friends are. He tells you I'm quoting a sefer in Nesiva Shalom. He tells you I'm quoting over here some sefer, the some sefer in Siman Dal. He tells you I'm quoting over here the sefer of the Binyan Sian. Then he tells you I'm quoting the Pri Megadim. He's quoting all these svarim, That's what he's quoting over here. Is Rabbi say when you look at these svarim that the Mishabura quotes, which I looked into them in the Binyan Sian. He looks over there, the Binyan Sian says the exact same eitzah, and he says you have to dry it off till it's yavesh mamish. Mamish, Rabbi said. Was ist doch mamish? Nicht Menachem Mendel Schneerson. Mamish. It has to be dry like gamre. And then he quotes over here a Binyan Sian, and he says it's got to be, he says, in Lashon, interesting Lashon. He says, this is Lashon Nechsam Sefer, Ein by Shum Lachluches. What's all this about? He's quoting these svarim. He has these svarim open on the table. And the Pri Megadim says, Ein by klum. What was that lashon? Leinisha klum. Right? What's going on here? Oh, but on the other hand, we have to question. So why do they have to teach us things that we know? Just say the word yavesh. I'm going to tell you the emes. And if you look inside the Sefer Binyan Sian, it's kimat mafurish over there that's what he's saying. Rabbi say they were coming lafuke something else. Is Rabbi say when you have a piece of meat. If you take a piece of meat, which is raw, does it cook? Avada not. You have to go and sit there on a fire and cook it properly. If you go and cook it in a cliche, there's no chance. But the Paiskim will discuss that's very nice about the piece of meat. But there's juices on the inside of that piece of meat which are going to get cooked, which are raw. So you see, there's a concept of the food itself, and there's a food of the inner moisture, the liquid, the inner moisture of the food, and it's two separate things. That's a mashal. The nimshal is our case over here. When you have a potato kugel or you have tea leaves that are dripping with the oil or dripping with the water that it was cooked in, etc. So there's one thing, the oil and the water on the outside, and then there's another thing, the oil and the water on the inside of the leaf, which is moist. It's a moist leaf right now. And I did it to check on my tea just to make sure what I'm saying is emes, and it's a pashit 1000% emes, that even after you dry it, it's still moist and it's still wet. That's what these great achreinim are coming lafuke. Now it's nifla ad l'ma'oid. You know what the Mishabura and the Chasam Sofer, we'll get back to Rav Elyashiv and Rosh Hashanah in a moment, but you know what the Mishabura and the Gras and the Chasam Sofer and the Pri Megadim, you know what they're all saying? They're saying it needs to be dry, but don't think it needs to be dry like like it has no inner moisture. It doesn't have to be dry. Don't think you have to dry out those leaves till they are not moist on the inside, Bichlal. Don't think so. No, all it means is that you pour off the liquid. If you pour off the liquid, you pour off the right div. So then now, hoiriku, so then it's considered dry. Dahainu, Hagan, the inside is still wet. As Rabbi said, now listen to the words of the Pri Megadim. Niflat ha'oid. So the Pri Megadim, he says, I'm quoting you from the Pri Megadim. He says, why didn't he say, dim, yavesh? So there, dim, you have to pour off all the water. He's coming to say, Avada, the outside water you have to pour off. But don't think you have to be yavish, you have to dry it out. And now everything stims gewaltig. The Mishabur is quoting the Chasam Sofer. You think the Mishabur is going to argue on the Chasam Sofer? You think the Mishabur is quoting the Nesivos Shalom? He's quoting the Binyan Tzin. You think he's going to argue on them? About the not. As I say, fakert point. What the Mishabur is coming to say over here is that if you have the tea leaves and the tea leaves are wet, so the Mishabur, get rid of the liquid. So the Mishabur, Ratza Loimar. Beli meha essence. He's coming lafuke, the word yavish all over the Paiskim. Whenever you look in Hilchos Brachas in Siman Reish Gimel, where it talks about a dry, a fresh vegetable, and not a fresh vegetable. A yavish vegetable is a reference to a vegetable which is not fresh. But for if you have a vegetable which is, or let's in our case over here, you have a potato kugel which is wet. What does it mean over here? Zaktim Shabrua, it means yavish doesn't mean that it has to be dry and that your potato kugel is if it's burnt to a crisp. It means pufaket. It means on the outside liquid is gone. But maybe the Mishnah Berurah agrees with the Chasam Sofer and the Pri Megadim, and they all say that it shouldn't be left any drops. As I say, if this is true, Rabbi said this is a groise chumrah, but that's what state. So now we have to go to the Amos. But am I arguing on Rav Shlomo Zalman? Am I arguing on Rav Elyashiv? Rabbi say, am I arguing on Rav Moshe? So it wouldn't be the worst crime. Because L'maisel Shitasam, they're arguing on the Mishnah Berurah, and the Mishnah Berurah holds these are Dinei Deraisa, and they hold these aren't Dinei Deraisa. So it wouldn't be the worst crime if I was arguing with Shlomo Zalman. I would just say it's a machlekes for Shlomo Zalman, and it's a machlekes Mishnah Berurah, and that mahalach how to learn Yesh Bishul Achar Bishul B'davar Lach, and then Mishnah Berurah the Shitasa is being machmir, and the Shlomo Zalman, Rav Elyashiv, Rav Moshe, the Chazon Ish, all of them the Shitasim are being mekel. And the truth is there is a mahalach like that. If a person wants to be mekel, can he do like the Chazon Ish and Rav Moshe? Yeah. Do you want to know what's the Mishnah Berurah Shita? No, say that you could have said such a mahalach. But lemana mitas adavar abaisai, I don't think you have to come on to this. I think that Alibet Emes, the way we learned in the Mishnah Berurah, is correct. I think it's correct. But that which the Shabbos writes, that therefore now from the tea you have a right of potato kugel, it's not true. It's two different cases. It could be by tea. That's where the Mishnah Berurah is machmir. By tea, you have to dry it. That's where the Mishnah Berurah spoke about it. By tea, the Mishnah Berurah says you have to dry it. Okay, but Mashain came by potato kugel, which is where Rav Shlomo Zalman was talking about, and Rav Elyashiv was talking about. There's a new svara. There you can hear a svara that when you have a liquid, which is a potato kugel, and the person eats the potato kugel with its moisture, with its liquid, then avada there's a concept of a tefilus to the food. Avada, Rabbi say, everyone understands this concept. I eat a piece of cake. No, when I eat a piece of cake and the last drop of the cake is a little bit of a chocolate that was on top of the cake. So the concept of a shtetzach, I don't make a shackle now on that chocolate. Why? Because you made a bracha on the one big cake. No, so that chocolate was included in your bracha. Mashal madavar doim, that's a mashal. The nimshal's barer, Rabbi say, over here, when I have a potato kugel, so that juice is a piece of potato kugel. Are you going to ask me, what do you mean it's a liquid? It's what to go? First of all, in Tumas Eichlim, it is not. That's first of all. It's not a liquid. In Hilchos Tumas Eichel, that's not called a liquid. It's considered a piece of Eichel, right? So I beside when you're dealing with the svaras of Bishul, even on a deraisa level, we saw that on the Beshaita, it was hard for us to understand that when you have a liquid of water, we can understand why there would be a sheet of Yesh Bishul Achar Bishul. But when you have a potato kugel, it was very hard for us to understand why that liquid, which is a piece of the potato kugel, part of the potato kugel, is considered Yesh Bishul Achar Bishul B'davar Lach. You see that it became transformed into a piece of the potato kugel, became all part of the potato kugel, and everyone that sees this over here understands that there was a process that took place over here. Therefore, I could certainly understand that Tfelis makes it that this is batal to the kugel. It's something that's a chelik of the kugel. We have no raya that Rav Shlomo Zalman would have said it by the tea leaves. We have no raya, Rav Elyashiv would have said it by the tea leaves. By the tea leaves, Rabbi say, there's a leaf and there's liquid. And for carrot, that liquid is going to become this battle to the drink that you put the tea leaves into. That's going to become a part of the liquid. By the potato kugel, it all becomes a piece of the potato kugel. So I could have heard that there's a chelik. By the leaves, where you have a leaf and you have the liquid, that's where the Mishnah Berurah held that you have no right. You have to go and make sure that you dry off the liquid from the outside, because the liquid from the outside is going to be nisbatal into the liquid. So that's called you're cooking it into the liquid. The leaf itself. Okay, ein bishul achar bishul on the leaf. The mashen came on the potato kugel. On the potato kugel, it's bottled to the food. Once it's frost on the challah, we'll get to in a moment. But it's bottled to the food. So if it's bottled to the food. On that, you could be saimach on Rav Moshe. Meaning, I'll say it very simple. First of all, maybe the Mishnah will agree to Rav Elyashiv, and second of all, Rav Elyashiv, Rav Moshe, Rav Shlomo Zalman, and they were all makel anyways, based on their Havana. So there's no shiloh on a potato kugel. Ganz fine, there's a markum to be makel on an oily potato kugel to put it back on top of the hot plate, meaning on top of the cholent pot or whatever. Once you have mamash, a separate entity of juice. No, so then you versteh, it's not longer bottle. That's the idea now. Now it's no longer bottle. When it comes to the tea leaves, the liquid of the tea leaves is not bottle to the leaf. Why should the liquid be bottle to leaf? It's interesting. Rav Shlomo Zalman says something a bit more aggressive than me even. Rav Shlomo Zalman goes on over there in the Mora Shabbos, and he says, that's all b'negeya the kugel. He says, aval rak b'kugel, b'lani v'lo b'itriot, not on lakshin. Now, he doesn't explain what's the difference between lakshin and potato kugel. L'chayra, it's a little bit even more aggressive than what I'm saying. Potato kugel, the pshat is the oily is bottled to the kugel. It's an oily kugel. The lakshin is the liquid that the lakshin was cooked in. Now, a lot of people, they take the lakshin and then they put Erev Shabbos and they put it through a strainer and then they wash it off with cold water. So that water is cold water that was never cooked. That avad, no shaila, is a problem of Bishul. That water was never cooked. But Shlomo Zalman is talking about that you took the lakshin, you cooked it Erev Shabbos, now you took it out, you put it inside a Tupperware or something. And then on Shabbos, you want to take it and not put it into your kli. You want to put it in your kli. On that, Shlomo Zalman says you can't. Either lakshin is ein bishul acha bishul b'dav yavish, but the droplets on the lakshin, those droplets are previously cooked liquid, which have been cooled down. So Shlomo Zalman is saying those droplets are now a problem. Now, when I saw this at first, I thought that's a big chiddush. What's the difference between the lakshin droplets and the potato kugel droplets? Shlomo Zalman over here doesn't really explain, right? I suppose Shlomo Zalman is saying this svara. So I would make it extreme. By tea leaves, you for sure hear it. By potato kugel, it's the other extreme. Shlomo Zalman saying the case in the middle. I could have heard that lakshin is more doimit than potato kugel, and that's considered the juice of the lakshin. It's it's all part of lakshin. Shlomo Zalman saying no. There's the lakshin and there's the liquid it was cooked in, and that liquid is not bottled to it. Mashenkin, an oily potato kugel, that's a piece of potato kugel. So now, whether you hear Shlomo Zalman or not, where Shlomo Zalman opened up the door for us to understand the Mishnah Berurah, that Shlomo Zalman also understood the Mishnah Berurah like us. That when it came to a tea leaf, for sure you had to dry that tea leaf. You just don't have to dry it out. The fact that it's wet on the inside doesn't bother us. So Shlomo Zalman is saying a very big chiddush. He's saying that when you have lakshin is so much, the liquid on the lakshin is like the tea leaf. And even that you're not allowed to do. You have to dry out the lakshin on Erev Shabbos. That's a chiddush. It wasn't muchach, that's far over Shlomo Zalman. Whereas this is going to be kamtais, a grois machlekes. According to Shevet HaLevi, and that's why you see in the Rosh Shabbos, it's very confusing over there, because he puts the Shevet HaLevi together with Shlomo Zalman. It's a shtickle kilayim. It's a little bit of a kilayim over here in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, I don't know. Rav Shlomo Zalman is going to let you have the kugel and heat up the kugel. Seder, because that's a different svara, because it's bottled to the kugel. Rav Vazner is going to be makel even on the lakshin. He's going to be makel even on the lakshin. He's going to tell you that even the droplets of the lakshin, what's the difference? He goes with this svara that it doesn't have to be dry, and b'chulei ayin sham. The Rav Shlomo Zalman was never makel on that, and you have no raya that Rav Elyashiv was makel on that, and you don't even have a raya that Rav Moshe was makel on such a thing. Rav Moshe was never makel on such a thing, and the Mishnah Berurah is first not makel. So on the lakshin, I would not be makel. And that we have absolutely no reason to believe. Okay, a person who wants to be makel, he has Rav Vazner to be saimach on. Okay, Adam Gadol Kamar, but at least you have to look at it now. When you read it inside over there, it looks like, it's like one big muskim dikashita, and it's far from muskim. I would say everybody disagrees with this. We saw the Ksesa Shulchan's been first not like this, the Mishnah Berurah's been first not like this, and Rosh Zalman's been first not like this. So to say, that's number one. That's number one. Is that crystal clear before I go weiter, Kindelach? Crystal clear? Putting down a paper towel, klape the shaila, that's a shaila like gabe schita. So that already we would consider this to be. Rav Moshe argues where. So again, there's no mefurish tshuva in Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe, I'm just saying the concept of Rav Moshe, that all we know from Rav Moshe klape is his attitude toward yesh bishul achar bishul, and even that Rav Moshe didn't really want to be makel klape the minchas kayim. In other words, Rav Moshe said that you can't use the minchas kayin to be makel. We don't have any reason to believe that Rav Moshe would argue on that Mishnah Berurah without speaking about it. So, now, do you have to dry it out with a towel, or the pouring is enough? So, the Mishabura, the Prima Gadim's lashon is hariku amayim shaloi nisher klum. Lefi this, you have to hariku shaloi nisher klum. That's what you'd have to do. You wouldn't have to blow dry. You wouldn't have to take a blow dryer or something, and then they would, sit there by the fire tonight by the Madura. That you would not have to do. Now, Baisai, now we go. You like a sikum? Let me give you a sikum, maybe. Sikum tais a baseline that it comes out in my. Again, we did not yet get to the next shilas, the shilas of cups that have droplets in them, and we did not yet get to the shilah of the droplets that are not on food. Right now, we're talking about droplets on food. So now, when you make the breakdown, it comes out like this: droplets on a food, an oily schnitzel, an oily potato kugel. I would even say, a cholent, which is, I think Duvi once was talking to me about this, a cholent, which is, basically dried out. It's, it's juicy, but it's basically dried out. When I mean juicy, I mean, you don't see liquid. And when you're going to scoop it out, there's not going to be liquid on the bottom. It's a wetness. There's a wetness to it. So that's like a potato kugel, and that's like an oily schnitzel, and that we for certain could be soymich on Rav Shlomo Zalman, Rav Elyashiv, and we have no raya. The Mishabura argues on that, and that would be considered bottle to the food, and that you could be more makel than the shulchan that says you have to make sure it's not wet enough to wet something else. Okay, that far, you don't have to start looking. Avadi, even if it's wet, and even if it's oily, and it could wet something else. But cold zman that the food is considered one big food and it's bottled to the food, it's just a little bit, it's a juiciness, there's a certain juiciness to it. So then that doesn't bother us. That's level number one. The other extreme, we'll call it the minchas kayin, and that you can't be saimichan, maybe aidegoy, maybe that you can't be saimichan. That's where you have, anytime that you have the food and the liquid as a separate entity. You see food and you see the food is in the liquid. There's a liquid next to it. There's a liquid around it. There's a liquid. Not that it's a wet cholent, but it's wet. There's a liquid there. There's liquid. That's the minchas kayin. Goes to that extreme. You can't be saimichan. And that avada, that's what Rabbi Yashiv said. You have to pour off the liquid from the kugel. That's avada problem. In the middle is what we discussed. If you have tea leaves that are been cooked on Erev Shabbos, so then anytime now I have a liquid that I don't consider it to be considered a chelik of the leaf. No one's going to say that you have a liquid and a leaf is two totally different things, Rabbi Sai. The leaf you're not going to eat. The liquid you will eat. They'll eat it as a part of the tea. It doesn't become a chelik nisbatel to the oichel. The oichel of tea, the liquid is not nisbatel to the oichel. There, the Mishabura sheet is you have to dry it, and Rav Vazner sheet is you do not. You just have to pour it off, and that's enough. Mistama here, you have to go to Mishabura. That we saw even Rosh Hashanah Zalman went like that, and the nafkamina is going to be lakshin. According to Rosh Hashanah Zalman, you got to take the lakshin and make sure it's dry. According to Ravazner, you do not need to dry the lakshin. It's just enough to pour off the lakshin. No, somebody wants to do like Ravazner. Anyways, the minchas kayin was Michael, but I don't think that a person should be Michael on this shiloh. That's the chayra number one. Is that crystal clear, Kindlech? Crystal clear? I'm not getting finger lach. Rabbi Danziger, you have two fingers. The Rebbeinu Shalom gave you two thumbs for a reason. But okay, let me get weiter. Now, boy say otazai. What's the pshat? You guys can only give me one yellow thumb or one black thumb, Rabbi Moy. What's the pshat? They don't have two thumbs over here. All right, I guess you have to put your thumb next. That's why some of you guys only put up one finger. What's this thing with the wave like that? What does that mean? I don't even know what it means. Oh, it's like a clap. That's geschmack. Akapanim. Now we go weiter. I was asked Rabbi Sai to talk again. I did not yet get to. I want to finish with foods first. I didn't get yet to the cup that has liquids in it, which is very negash shaila, Rabbi Sai. Right. The next shaila, the next level of this shaila, Rabbi Sai, is the shaila of taking the challah out of the fridge on Shabbat, the freezer. And when you take the challah out of the freezer on Shabbos, so you all know what happens. When you take the challah out of the freezer on Shabbos, it has frost. So that's the big shaila. This challah with the frost on it, am I allowed to take her and put her on top of a cholent pot? Once you put it on top of a cholent pot, there's no issue of chazara. But here we have a very big issue. We have the issue of bishul. Now, before I continue, the easiest thing in the world is to just wipe off the frost. But then that's the problem of Iyar. That's a very big shaila, right? That's a big shaila of boirer. I saw one Sefer Dan's that maybe you could say it's a klipa. You're allowed to peel an orange when it's for immediate use. So first of all, that's a very big shiloh if this is called immediate use, Rabbi side. It's not called immediate use. You're peeling off your orange in order to heat it up for the usage in an hour from now. Not so simple that that's called immediate use. When we learned Bayer, we saw that's not so simple. Rabbi Yashiv held it's not called immediate use. That's not so pashut at all. Rabbi Yashiv got in Bayer was of the grace of Mekilim. And Punkt over here, Rabbi Yashiv was not so thrilled to call that. Okay, so that's not pashut. But second of all, Rabbi said to say this is a klipa is a very, very weird thing. It's very weird. That's such a weird thing to say. Why is that a klipa? Klipa has to be some natural, man-made form. Rabbi said it's full mishnah where he talks about, begodim one on top of the other, and is it Bayer if you take off one beged to get to the other? Everything in Bayer, let's just start calling a klipa, right? Face, right? Your shirt is a klipa, by side. I mean, that's a weird thing. Weird thing. Some people they wear these. I saw Bachrim. They used to wear these like very tight pants. I don't know why they wear tight pants. It's weird looking. But that maybe is a klipa. That could be a klipa. That a fashteitak does contain a klipa because you have to like peel it off, and sometimes you need even a peeler to peel off these clothing of these dreadful, weird looking people. But al kapanim, that why do you say klipa is I don't know. Frost on a challah is a klipa? Nah, that's not a klipa. Sakapanim, that's a very serious Bayer shaila. I don't know. That's a very serious Bayer shaila. That is a very serious shaila. So that's why it's very important to find out if anybody was going to be mako. Is anybody going to be mako to take that challah and put it onto the hot plate with its frost? Now, by side, the frost is a very serious shaila. Kinderlach. The frost is not a shiloh of liquid that was cooked. That frost, does anybody know where that frost comes from? I need my geeks. Where did that frost come from? I think that frost, I don't know, it comes from the freezer. No, I mean, does that come from the inner moisture? I wonder, like, if the scientists are going to say that it comes from the inner moisture of the challah, which is previously cooked liquid. Is some geek going to say that? Yeah? What do you say, Donnie? You say that? Rabbi Leibovich says no, and he's a proper geek, right? Moshe Lieberman says, not the challah. You should know, I once gave this shiur, and there was a really, really tremendous gook, and he was saying it's borrowed to him that the frost comes from the challah inside of the challah. Now, I don't know, it sounds to me a little bit weird, right? If wrapped well in the challah, yeah, I know all the rayas, Rabbi said. Those rayas are for the geeks, but Tully, what do you say? What do you say, Tully? Come on. No? All right, well, that's the biggest geek of all. No, Dovi, Tachlis. Tachlis, what do you say? I don't know. So I have a scientist friend, right? Everybody has to have one. Oh, Yaakov Lang is here. No, Rabbi Lang, could you tell us if it's taka coming? Because your taka also, you should know this because of all the dips and all that stuff. No, Tachlis. The moisture coming on the challah from the freezer. What's the mitzias of the moisture coming from the challah? Is that coming from the inside? Is that coming from the outside freezer? Or is it coming from the liquid from within the challah? What do you say? What do you say? I don't know. He doesn't know either. He's busy making dips. He doesn't know. Okay. Says Rabbi side within. Duvi says within. Right? Duvi's son, right? Underage minor, long-haired, hippie-looking character over there, told Duvi that Itaka comes from within. So my scientist friends, they told me that they don't think it comes from within. My scientist friends, they don't think it comes from within. Right? I asked them all your questions that you're going to ask from the bags and whatever, and they looked at me with their scientific smirks. Because like a lechter, the water can go straight through all those bags. Oh, you're a total gelechter. So I don't know, but I'm still. Let's say it's totally in the freezer. Thank you, Rabbi Elbas. But there definitely is a possibility that there is liquid coming from the freezer too. That I think we're all masking. So that liquid, when you're going to have on the potato on the challah, when we're going to take that and put it onto the hot plate, onto the challah pot. So now you're cooking liquid that was never cooked. This should be forbidden. This should be forbidden. And there's a minchas Yitzchak in Chelik test in Siman Lamed Aleph that he says just that. He says this is forbidden, and there's nothing else. So I tell you, in that sefer over there, we have much bigger problems, Rabbi Silverman. We're not dealing here with noilad. Noilad, we could say it's spattle into the food or whatever. We're dealing over here with the rices. We're not dealing with noilad. We're dealing with the rices. So over there in that sefer in the Morah Shabbos, he brings down that Dayan Fisher wanted to be makel. He wanted to be makel. And the way he just brings it like in one sentence, I looked up, Dayan Fisher in Chelik Ches Sinuch of Tes has a whole tshuva about this. He says it's a mistake, the Minchas Yitzchak made a mistake, and Avadi you're allowed to take the challah out, and you're allowed to put it on top of the challah, and it's not a problem of Bishul. He says, why? Dayan Fisher is in Chelik Ches in the 29th tshuva. He says, why? He says, I don't understand what's the nida in Bechlal. He says, there's some sefer in Yeridea in Simon Tzadi Beis. It's very famous some sefer. Some sefer says that he's talking over there about Basar B'chalav. He was talking in the Hungarian army. They made you, some of us remember this. They made, you had to take different jobs in the Hungarian army, right? So one of the jobs was that you had to burn the garbage, right? So the shaila of the Frumma Yidden that they had this job was that they're allowed to burn the garbage because inside the garbage is milk and meat. So it's a problem of Bishul Basar B'chalav. This was the shaila they asked today. Look at some sefer. So some sefer said, he says the mistama there's a chilik between Bishul of Basar B'chalav and Bishul on Shabbos. He says when it comes to Bishul Basar B'chalav, so then he dons the shaila that maybe Bishul Basar B'chalav, it could be that there and taka it's itochen taka that it would be considered the Torah answered the etzim taroivis, the etzim making of a bit basar b'chalav hagam, that the end result is it's going to be nevad min ha'olam. But when you do a ma'isa bishul of basar b'chalav, that already is maybe with the Torah answered, and therefore he has a tzad to say that you can't even burn it, even though you're burning it out of this world. He says Mashenkin, and I'm not getting involved because I'm saying for what his maskana is there, but I'm just saying this tzad. But Mashenkin, he says when it comes to Shabbos, by Shabbos he says the Torah answered something that has a value to it, and the Torah never answered a person that's taking food and cooking it to be destroyed. A bishul which is just coming for one purpose, just to be destroyed, does say nishkin bishul, says the Chassam Sofer. He says when it comes to basar b'chalav, the Torah answered the ma'isa bishul. I don't care about the result. The Torah doesn't want you putting the shidduch together. So if you put this shidduch together, that's basar b'chalav, and therefore the Torah answered even if it's going to be the ibud. When you're talking about bishul on Shabbos, there the Torah answered, "Well, no, Rabbi Lieberman. Of course, there might be other isurim, whatever. I'm saying it conceptually right now. The site in the some sefer. We're talking about Shabbos. Some sefer meleches machsheves also Torah." And about menachas machsheves also the Torah. There, if you're doing something which is for no tayales and just being burnt out of this world, that's for sure not going to be a deraisa. Make it rabbanon. That was a tzad of the Chassam Sofer, and he says he brings a raya. Hey, look at Chassam Sofer. He says we never heard that when you light a candle, not a candle, when you light oil. We never heard. We heard you're over on mavir, you're over on avode, you're over on making a fire, but we never heard that you're over on bishul. Why aren't you over on bishul? When the wick is gonna suck up that oil, it's going to cook the oil. So why don't we say you're over on bishul of the oil also? You should also be over on bishul of the oil. No? Because that oil is going to ibid. We never found anyone that answers. I must tell you that I recently, remember, I made a siyum on Yevamis. You guys remember? I don't remember. And over there, so over there in Yevamis, there's a Taisis Rosh and Daf Zayin. Taisis Rosh and Daf Zayin. So long story short, the Olam recently is learning probably in Daf Yomi, you're learning Shabbos. Okay? So over there in Shabbos, there's a story of Rabbi Shmuel. And it says that Rabbi Shmuel said, I'll learn Torah by the light, and I'm not going to tip the light. So over there, what happened? Rabbi Shmuel learned, and by mistake, he tipped the light, and he said that when the base of Mikdash will be built, I'm going to bring a chatas shmeina, a big, fat gesunte chatas. So all the Mefarshim asked the kasha, why did he say he's going to bring a chatas shmeina? Why didn't he just bring a chatas, right? So they all say Torahs. Some want to say that the pshat is because he's taka we would have learned Pashup Shad is because he felt guilty, because also the Durabanan, he was over in the Durabanan of learning or a Nair or whatever. So the Chatis is for the crime, Deraisa, and the Shmeina is for the Durabanan. Taisus Rosh. I didn't look this up before the Shir, so don't quote me on it. I think it's there. I learned Yavamis recently. The Taisus Rosh over there in Yavamis, I think it was on Dav Zayin. He says, no, you're making a mistake. Rabbi Shmuel is going with the Shita that Havara is Lalav Yatzis. We know there's a machlekes if Havara is a lav, or if Havara is kares. So he said there's a machlekes. He says Rabbi Shmuel holds Havara is only a lav. He says, so why is he going to bring Chat Shmeina? Listen to Taizer Rash. He says he's over on Bishul when he lit the oil. Why is he going to bring a Chat Shmeina? For the lav of Havara. He gets for the Bishul, he's going to bring the Chatis. Why is it a Shmeina? Because he's over on Havara, but Havara is only a lav, so that's a Shmeina. Now you're clapping for the Taizer of Moiridik. That you should clap for that, Kinderlach. Right? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Right? Tairasai Mogain Lanu is a place I Moiridik in the world. So for that, the Chazam Sofer said, I never found anybody that said that you're over on Bishul when you're Bishul to Ibad. When you found now Taisus Rosh that says it. Niflad Me'oi. Balkapanim is a voice I Zakta Sol Yanka Fisher. He's not going with my Taisus Rosh. And he says, when you take a challah and you take the frost and you put it on top of the cholin pot. So what happens to the frost? The frost, that's how Yankee Fisher was not afraid of anybody. You remember the stories I used to tell you when they used to come to Yerushalayim Iyar Kodesh? The great Grebbes, Kallus used to give shir over there in Eitz Chaim, and he would give shir, and everybody would sit there like this. There was one Jew that used to scream the whole time, whatever he wanted to say. That was Shal Yankee Fisher. Shal Yankee Fisher wasn't afraid of anybody. When I ate by Shal Yankee Fisher, I came late because I couldn't find his house. So he comes and he says to me, here, Melch Kiddush, because they made Kiddush. They were in the middle of their meal already. So he took out a little bottle and he gave me the bottle. I said to him, I was a young bocher. I didn't know. I told him, no, because the cap is closed. No, the cap is closed. No. Nein, ich kenne nicht. Ich habe nicht gewusst, dass die Jid, was der Mekel auf die ganze Meisten, das. Ich habe nicht gewusst, ich habe einmal gehört, dass das war die Schieden. Vaja, Mekel. Ich habe nicht gehört in mein ganzes Leben, ein Mensch, der Mekel on the caps that are the gold caps, the silver caps. So he says, das, ich kenne das right in front of my face. He says, me, you can gotta go give me skila again there. He wasn't afraid of anybody, Rabbi Isai. Nobody, Rabbi Isai. As I bezai, that Jew that had no fear of anyone, he said, I bezai, you can take the challah, put it on top of the cholim pot. I'm not scared. I bishul the ibad. That's not called bishul b'klal. That's called evaporating. That's called dehydrating. That's not bishul b'klal. So we would have thought that it's a darbanan of sorts. No, but Rabbi Isai, the Minchas Yitzchak, where did he come from? He made it up on his own. The Minchas Yitzchak says, what do you want from me? It's a Mefurisha, Halacha, and Shulchan Aruch, and Siman Shin Aleph, and Sif Mem Vav. Over there it talks about, Rabbi Isai, you coming from the snow. You're coming from the snow. No, someone told me it's over there. It's snowing in New York. You guys better do tshuva already, Rabbi Isai. I don't know what's going on in the world today. Akapanim is Rabbi Isai. You take this snow, you come in and you have your hat and you have your scarf and you have your ear mufflach. You take your ear mufflach and they have a little snow all over them and dust. So what do? You take it and you put it by the radiator. You put it darting by the radiator. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Siman Shin Aleph Mem Vav, name. If you do that, we throw you off a cliff. Says the Mishabura. Why? Zak the Mishabura, it's either one of two things. For sure we're going to kill you. It's only a matter of why. Zak the Mishabura, either it's Bishul, or Zakta Mishabura, it's Liban. What's the pshat? It's Liban. It's Liban because there's some type of a process of cleansing that takes place with hot water, together with the heat and whatever, or it's Bishul. Okay. Is Rabbi Isai sagt Rebbe Kiva Eger, our Rebbe Kiva Eger. Unser Rebbe Kiva Eger. Where's the Shulchan Aruch and Shin Aleph Sif Mem Vav? Sagt Rebbe Kiva Eger, the Moran of all of Klal Yisrael. The reason we're here today, Rabbi says, because of Jews like Rebbe Kiva Eger. Zogt Rebbe Kiva Eger. What's the nafkamina if I take my ear mufflach and I put them on the radiator. And what's the nafkamina if it's Bishul or if it's Lieben? Sagt Rabbi Kiva Eiger, moire dik in the Welt. He said the nafkamina is if the water in the earmuffs was previously cooked. Rabbi Kiva Eiger. Sagt Rabbi Kiva Eiger, if the water was previously cooked in the earmuffs, you take your earmuff lach and you dip them into your coffee, okay? So that water was previously cooked. And now you want to try it out. Sagt Rabbi Kiva Eiger, if you go that it's als bishul, so then the Rambam that ain't bishul lach, bishul b'davar lach, you could take your earmuff lach and dry them out. Moirede. Mash ain't kain if it's als liban. If the reason is als liban, then what do I care? Sagt Rabbi Kiva Eiger, that the liquid was going to be previously cooked. Who cares? You're still going to do liban. Now you do this heating process. Moira dik Rabbi Kiva Eiger. No, it's Rabbi Sai. So what do you see? Says the Minchas Yitzchak. What do you see from Rabbi Kiva Eiger? What do you see? You see that when I take my earmuff lach, and I take them on the radiator and I dry them out, that's called bishul, unless ain't bishul lacha bishul, unless the liquid is previously cooked. But you see that taking earmuff lach and putting them on a radiator is cooking. Where's that water going? It's going to the ibid. So what do you see? That's called bishul. No games. Bishul is a tikkun in the chefza, and in the fact that it's getting evaporated, it doesn't make a difference. That liquid that's getting evaporated, is an enhancement in the chayla. However you understand it, but does state mefurish, Rabbi Sai. Does state mefurish, Rabbi Sai. Ibazai says, yeah, Taka Kumtais Rabbi Khan, it's a machlekes between Rabbi Kiva Eiger and the Samsaifer, his son-in-law, Moirdik. I hope they didn't discuss this at the Tanayim. Moirdik is Rabbi Sai. As Ibazai, what is the Dayan Fisher going to do with that? L'chaira, it seems to say that that's mefurish already how you learn in Sif Mem Vav over there. It's mefurish. What do you need Rabbi Kiva Eiger for? It's mefurish in Mem Vav. That when you take this ear maflach and you dry it out, it's mefurish mamish. That when the liquid goes out, you're over and bishul. Rabbi Kiva Eiger just showed us it's an afkamina, and that if it would be liquid that's previously cooked, it would be ein bishul achar bishul. So you know what Dayan Fisher says? I'm not afraid of Rabbi Kiva Eiger. I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm not afraid of Rav Aaron. If I'm not afraid of Rav Aaron, why would I be scared of Rabbi Kiva Eiger? Rav Aaron was afraid of Rabbi Kiva Eiger, but I'm not afraid of either of them. Zok Yisrael Yankov Fisher, the great Dayan of Yerushalayim Mir Kodesh, he says Rabbi Kiva Eiger is wrong. That's not pshat in the Shulchan Aruch. That's not pshat in the Shulchan Aruch. He says, do you know why? When you take a towel, he says, when you take a towel and it's on a radiator, he says, even if the water was previously cooked, you're still over on bishul. What? Yeah. He says, you know why you're over on bishul over there? Because you went from a guf rach to a guf kosher. You took heat and you went and made something soft into hard. That's the pshat over there. Now, Greta, why is that not true by challah? Why is that not true by challah? Okay, so he says, no, there, what shaykhis? The liquid is just floating away. And the challah, mitzad the challah lane is just, that's ein bishul achar bishul on the south. Why don't we say that you're making a hard challah go to a soft challah? I don't know. I'm afraid to ask that question in public. Okay, maybe I have to read his tshuva again. Balkapanim, butter we're going to talk about. Balkapanim, Rabbi Isai, that's why Rabbi Yisrael Yankov Fisher said you can take a challah and put it on top of the cholent pot. You take it on either frost, who cares? It's like hanging out your towel on the radiator. He said that's not shaykhis, that's for a whole different reason, making something go from Martha Sopa Rabbi Isai. We are afraid of Rabbi Kiva Eiger. Oh, are we scared of Rabbi Kiva Eiger? Should I tell you why we're scared of Rabbi Kiva Eiger? Rabbi Isai. Rabbi Kiva Eiger? Rabbi Isai. Rabbi Kiva Eiger, there was one day a year, I was told it was Lag BaOmer. Sounds from, hey, we're almost there. I'm almost after Plag. I might be getting myself into trouble. Rabbi Kiva Eiger on Lag BaOmer. Let's pretend it's not today. Rabbi Kiva Eiger on Lag BaOmer. He used to stand. What was the Lag BaOmer treat? Some Sefer says he doesn't understand why people make any big deal out of Lag BaOmer. What's going on in Lag BaOmer? Just go learn. So Rabbi Kiva Eiger agreed with that. So what did he do? He would come on Lag BaOmer and he would come to the yeshiva. And what would he do? Any question that you would ask Rabbi Kiva Eiger, he would answer. Any question that you ask Rabbi Kiva Eiger, he would answer. So Rabbi Kiva Eiger would sit there and answer any question that you wanted from Kala Tarakula, and he would say over the Lashonis of the Gemara verbatim, and the Lashonis of the Rishonim verbatim. as we are scared of Rabbi Kiva Eger. Oh, are we scared of Rabbi Kiva Eger? Rabbi Kiva Eger, just to say his name, we're scared of Rabbi Kiva Eger. As I say, the Zicher, now we see the Taisis Rosh, Zicher, we're going to take on Pashit, that the Bishul of a Iyar maflach that are wet is certainly because of the evaporation and the liquid. And I tell you, this is why when you have a sink near the blech, so till now, you have a droplet that's going there and whatever. I don't know. Maybe you weren't scared because it's getting burnt to death anyways. I don't know. I'm scared now. A droplet that's getting burnt up and getting burnt up to shemayim or whatever. So I'm not taking no challah out of the freezer and putting it on top of the cholent pot. So this Rabbi Isai is part one. Part one of the shir is when I take the food and I take it and put it on top of a cholent pot, or I take the kugel and all that, and what liquid is allowed. If it was not previously cooked, avad, it's a problem. If it is previously cooked, we saw the Kallus today, and then tomorrow, Bez Hashem, we're going to take a look at the Mamakaimis, and we're going to see over about the cups, and also about what, the ladles and putting it back into the soup, and the lid, that lid, it's freezing cold, the droplets on the lid by the time you finish with your cholent. You have the cholent already. And now you put it back, and you're putting it back onto a fire mamish, right? You're putting it back onto a fire mamish. Right? Ashreichem, Ashreichem, Ashreichem Yisrael, Ashreichem, Ashreichem. Ashreichem Yisrael, lifnei mi atem metayer mi metayer eschem, lifnei mi atem metayer mi metayer eschem. Avinu shebashamayim, Avinu shebashamayim. Omar Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Kiva. Ashreichem Yisrael. Omar Rabbi Kiva, Ashreichem Yisrael. Ashreichem, Ashreichem, Ashreichem Yisrael, Ashreichem, Ashreichem Yisrael, lifnei mi atem metayer mi metayer eschem, lifnei mi atem metayer mi metayer eschem. Oh, Rabbi Stefanski, sing. Stop yawning. Yeah.
What time is the Leica?
You Americans, you guys don't know the words by heart, no? I'm going to sing the Bayou High song if the Americans don't know the words. I'm going to explain all these words to you, Rabbi Isai. What should we do about this? Bar Yochai, Nimshachto Ashrecha, Shemin Zosoine, Bar Yochai, Shemin Zosoine, Ashrei Yoladisecha, Ashrei Ha'om, Heyelim Loidecha, Ashrei Yehudim Avavaseidecha, Levushecha Yishentumecha Deyoidecha, When's the shear? No, let's see. When are we going to make the shear?
Now he comes. What's the shear?
It's good.
Oy vey amartem koilecho, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai.
All right, but Meisner, you're not alone. Don't keep on going.
Oy vey amartem koilecho, Rabbi Shimon. Oh, Terosa.
Let's see, Meidel, wenn wir dein Shear?
Shear for
Wenn
who?
wir dein Shear? Wenn es geht für euch, Meidel?
When is the share from Candela?
No, wenn wir dein Shear? Wenn es gut für euch?
No,
It's
Dad.
good whenever.
You have to do it in English as well for the English people.
Als
Let me have to figure it out with Avi Slansky.
Nossi, klingt zu mir, und nicht wegen dem, ja?
You have to do it in English as well.
Finished.
In English.
English?
Yeah,
You
we'll do it in
mentioned
English. Don't worry, don't worry.
And if I don't understand, I just turn it off.
Nossi, we got to talk, and when are we going to explain Bar Yochai? We have to have a Zoom like Baimer party, no?
Okay, what time tonight?
What's good for you, Danny?
10 p.m.?
10 p.m. Yeah, 10 p.m. is pretty good because. Wait, the only thing is we have to wait till in America it's like Baimer, no?
Probably.
Eitan, when is it like Baimer by you guys? Like
Rabbi,
next
they don't have
Thursday?
like
Rabbi,
Baimer in America.
we should do
In
Nate's
America,
tomorrow
they have to
morning.
go to baseball games.
Nate's tomorrow morning.
I've
No,
got a
Eitan
meeting.
Gewurz has to go to Friends Field to play baseball, so we have
Exactly.
to work it out.
That's all they do in America. Unlike
We can do it at 12:15 tonight.
12:15 what?
Tonight. I've got a meeting from 11 to 12, and then 12:15 we can do it.
No, but it's not yet like Baimer by these guys. I guess we'll just make
Why?
the party tomorrow. We got to do it tomorrow.
It's
We
after
can do it
plug for them.
tomorrow.
It's after plug for them.
What?
It's after plug.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, everyone's Black Baimer. Tomorrow.
Nah,
Okay.
we'll make it tomorrow. Anyways, we had to play baseball tomorrow, no?
Rabbi Amen.
Okay.
Just remember what happened the last time you played football, yeah?